Okay, this is going to be a little video on stacking table dogs and getting dogs used to the table. We have Jamie and her Papillon Teddy, who has kindly given us some of her time. Teddy is not trained, so this will be a good example of how to start your young puppies. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have a good secure table. You want to make sure the table is not wiggling and should have a texture that is non-slip for the dog. If you don't have an actual grooming table, you can use a regular table, you can use any secure surface, but make sure the dog's not going to slip and make sure it's secure. So Jamie's going to show you where to put the dog on the table.
Depending on the dog, some people like to have them in the middle of the table. Some people like to have them right on the very edge of the table. A lot of that's personal preference and also dependent on the level of training of the dog. This dog has never been on a table like this before. He's been groomed plenty, but he has never been in a show ring setting. So this is totally new to him. He's not had this type of show lead on before. Puppies, of course, aren't going to be this calm generally. They're kind of squirrely and you have to work with them. But this generally is how you put the dog on the table. You want them to stand in a nice square stance, and sometimes if you can't get them to put their foot down, you lift the back end, and it doesn't give them much choice. They have to put their feet down in order to maintain their balance, of course. Once you get the front feet placed, then you can work with the back feet. And he's not sure what's going on or why he's having to put his feet just so, because I'm normally not this picky with him. So he's learning. Generally, if you start a young puppy, about 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes to start with, and then work up to about 5 minutes of time, and that's probably about all you're going to get out of them because they have a very short attention span. Generally, I like to start my puppies working on table manners when they're about 6 weeks old, and be very careful not to let them venture too far to the edge and fall off. But generally, this is pretty much how we start. Time I might bring Callan up, and actually first I lead him over to the table. A lot of times I say pick up, which tells him I'm going to be lifting him so that it's not a complete surprise. I place him on the table and into hopefully what is a proper stack, and he's not quite there, so we'll work with him just a little bit to see if we can't get the feet kind of where we want. That's pretty close for starters. We can work on that as time goes and get a lot closer. But
Okay.
For starters, if he'll stand still, you got a good thing going.
Little increments. Now,
Yes.
one thing, when you grab the back leg, you want to show where you grab the hock so people can see. I don't know, the tail's kind of in the way. I don't know if they can.
Yes, he has a
nice
voluptuous tail. So don't grab your dog up here. You can't place the foot properly. Usually you want to take it by the lower hock, and usually I get it right at the bend of the hock. They don't protest quite as much as if you try to grab down closer to the foot. Most dogs don't like that as well. I pick right at the angle of the hock, and I find that generally works best.
Okay. And one thing you want to be careful of is that when you go to touch a back leg, don't get above this tendon and grab up here and try to move the
Yes.
leg. Always be down here by the hock.
And the same goes when you're placing the front feet. Don't try to get down by the fetlock or the pastern area. You might get away with it, but generally you want to take the dog's foot up by the elbow and then place it and then shift his weight onto that foot so that it stays where you put it, hopefully. And he's not perfect, but for starters, he's
doing very well.
doing very well.
It's important with puppies and untrained dogs to go very easy, very slow, and like Jamie said, just a short little training period. And break it up, you know, play with the dog after you're done working with them so they start to look at their training as a fun thing. As the puppy progresses and gets more comfortable, he'll learn how to bait. But we're not going to worry too much about baiting right now. This is just basically how to get the puppy up on the table and get him used to it. We're also going to look at the collar closely. The type of collar is a martingale.
This is what's known as a kindness lead. It has a wider throat area, so that for starting puppies and young dogs, I really like that. If they have a tendency to pull against the lead, this won't choke them like a thin show lead will. And you place it right behind the ears, hopefully getting all their hair out of the way, and then slide the catch down.
Right, and so then it's not going to tighten on the dog at all. And if they do pull, like you said, it's not choking them. And with this young dog, if they start hitting the end of the collar and choking, that's an unpleasant experience for them. They're not going to want to put their head up. And
Well,
if the head goes down, the ears go back too.
And also with toy dogs, they have a tendency to do what's called reverse sneezing, and anytime you put pressure on the throat can bring on a bout of reverse sneezing, which is very unpleasant in the show ring because they can't gait properly at all
Okay,
and doesn't look very good.
okay. Thank you, Teddy.
He's gonna want to play.
Okay, this is Callan, and he's a young dog, hasn't had much table experience. This is all new to him. So this will be a good example of a puppy that's not really sure of himself. You always want to proceed very slowly and deliberately. And you want to make sure, though, if a puppy's being frightened, you don't go, oh, poor puppy, it's okay. You want to be gentle and deliberate with your motions and also encouraging.
Boy.
So he's a little bit nervous, but he's doing pretty good.
And that's pretty good for starters because
Very good.
he has not been worked with at all. And he's very unsure of what's going on. And so the fact that I'm getting this much attention out of him is surprising, pleasantly so. Good boy.
There, it's pretty good. We moved a bit. That was pretty good.
Good boy. There we go. And I'm sure you can tell in the video he's shaking.
Yeah.
Which we just want to kind of scratch his chest and reassure him a bit. We don't want to coddle him too much. But I'm going to show him a treat. And he's not as interested in that as he is Teddy playing with the ball. Okay, it doesn't hurt to let them kind of explore the boundaries of the table a bit. Check things out, make sure it's okay, but be careful not to let them get too close to the edge. And right now, he just walked himself
Perfect.
into a pretty good stance. Right.
Pretty good.
Good boy. That's a good
One thing
boy.
that's really important with young, untrained dogs is don't try to push too much too soon. Don't expect a lot of progress in the first 5 minutes you work them. Just give them a chance to kind of get acclimated to things. If you can get the dog to learn how to walk into a stack, that's going to help you a whole lot.
Good boy.
Yeah, I'm having some fun afterwards. I can't follow them, they're too fast.